Bill Gates has generously shared his top advice to become successful on his beautifully crafted blog, Gates Notes. These are first-hand, real-life lessons he learned on his way to creating $114 billion net worth. Here are 6 of the best bits we think will help you also achieve great success in your life. 1. Focus on your inner game. A very popular quote from Bill Gates is about not comparing yourself to others, because when you do that, you are actually undermining who you are as an individual. Bill truly believes in being yourself and focusing on your own skills and development. He says, we are not all born with identical skills, so why should we expect identical success? Bill Gates shared an inspiring anecdote on his blog about a discussion he had with his very close friend and tennis legend Roger Federer. Bill asked Roger what went on in his mind when he was on the court, being the best tennis player in the world. Roger gave a simple explanation. He said more than his outer game, what works for him is his inner game. We have never seen Roger celebrating a point too loudly or feeling completely dejected every time the opponent wins a point. He has trained his mind to remain calm and to continue his endeavors tirelessly. And that's why he has won over 20 Grand Slams in his career. But that's not how every tennis player plays his game. Nadal and McEnroe are flamboyantly celebratory because that gives them confidence, and they are equally successful too. So you need to understand your own nature before you compare yourself to others. Think of what boosts your morale and confidence. Choose a career path that helps you flourish, not pulls you back. You might not be good with numbers, but you might be very good at sports. So pick sports as your career, instead of dreaming of being a physicist. But whatever you choose, put your blood and sweat into making it a reality. 2. It's not always a eureka moment. We've all heard the stories about Bill being lucky to have a computer in his school when no other school did. We have also heard that he dropped out of Harvard to focus on Microsoft. However, what we hear from others is very different from what we hear from this man himself. A lot of us have heard that Bill Gates is a strong proponent of taking big risks to win big, but this is only half of the story. Bill said in his blog post on one of his favorite books, Where Good Ideas Come From, by Steven Johnson, that while starting Microsoft was a really risky decision, it wasn't a spur-of-the-moment decision. Bill shares the real-life example of YouTube that he loved from his book. The book says, if YouTube was launched 10 years earlier, it would have failed miserably. The biggest reason was that people were still using slow dial-up connections, making video sharing next to impossible. So, high-speed internet was a must-have prerequisite for YouTube's success. Therefore, according to Bill, while taking risks is very important, having a fair idea of whether the technology will penetrate fast enough is also crucial. He and Paul Allen worked on mainframe computers in high school, but they were allowed only limited time to use Computer Center Corporation's, CCC, computers. However, these smart kids found bugs to increase their computer time. When CCC found out about this, it banned them from their premises, but soon after, it hired them back to find more bugs to make their systems robust. This is when Gates saw a career opportunity in computers. What started as a lakeside programmers club to make pocket money was turned into the full-fledged Microsoft we know today. 3. Science fiction was my coach. What's yours? Bill Gates emphasizes that to succeed in life and become rich, you need a coach, someone who helps you think, tackle your insecurities, and give you courage and inspiration. Your coach could be the person you know in real life or someone you really admire. For many kids of the 90s, J.K. Rowling is a role model of success because she rose up from nothing into one of the most loved authors of her era. Similarly for Bill Gates, it was Robert Heinlein and his science fiction novels. In fact, science fiction was the biggest common interest between him and Paul Allen that got them together. Yes, it was not computing, as Gates mentioned in his blog on Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert Heinlein. While Bill was only a kid reading the books for the stories, Paul, who was only 2 years older, knew better. He helped Bill understand how these books were closely tied to technological development. Paul explained how these books inspired him to imagine the solutions to big real-world problems technology could solve. Even before personal computers became commonplace, Paul predicted how computers would become a whole new industry of their own. And that's how Bill fell in love with technology at a very young age, when other kids had no clue what they wanted to do with their lives. So, in a way, Paul was Bill's coach and inspiration, and Robert Heinlein's books became the coaching medium. And if you too have read any science fiction books from the past, you will realize that a lot of wondrous gadgets mentioned in those books are now a reality. For example, we now have dictionaries at our fingertips and can make long-haul calls within seconds, things that were only possible in science fiction decades ago. So, inspiration can come from anywhere. You need to be on the lookout. 4. You can't do everything on your own. From the origin of Microsoft to today, Bill Gates can't emphasize more on the magic of partnerships. In fact, Microsoft didn't start in isolation. After high school, Paul and Bill both headed to Boston. Bill went to Harvard, while Paul, being 2 years older, was working there. Bill vividly recalls in his blog post on the memory of Paul that had it not been for Paul, Microsoft would never come into existence. In January 1975, Paul brought home an issue of Popular Electronics because he wanted to show Bill that a new, powerful computer, Altair 8800, was already created by a New Mexican company, MITS. He said if they wanted to be part of the computer revolution, they would have to act quickly. So that's when Bill and Paul contacted MITS president Ed Roberts. They informed him that they were working on a BASIC for Altair 8800, so even non-scientific people could use computers with ease. Ed immediately called the boys to New Mexico for a demonstration and hired them to create codes. Paul named the partnership Microsoft and got it registered. However, when Bill found out that their code was leaked and was getting circulated for free by MITS insiders, he and Paul left MITS and took complete charge of Microsoft. But now, they were only left with the software. They needed the hardware too, and that's when the IBM partnership came to their rescue. But this time, Bill and Paul were smarter. They only licensed their operating system 86-DOS and didn't sell the rights so they could partner with other companies also. Therefore, partnering with others always taught Bill Gates something school could never teach. And that's why, even today, Microsoft partners with startups with the latest ideas so it can convert them into reality. 5. Failure is better than success. While the importance of partnerships can't be emphasized enough from the previous advice, it also has a more subtle learning entangled into it. If you ask Bill today to choose between success and failure, he would happily choose failure, not because he is tired of his success, but because failure taught him more than success. His failed partnership with MITS challenged him to start his own company. Had there been no code leak, there wouldn't be a Microsoft or a Bill Gates. He would have been working for MITS even today, getting only a fraction of what he is worth. And he wouldn't have learned that he could license the software instead of selling it altogether to the computer manufacturers. Such learnings formed the foundation of Microsoft and made it a major player in the industry. Knowing firsthand, Bill recommends Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, the CEO of Nike, to every entrepreneur dealing with failure. He loves how honestly Phil has told the readers what the path to success really looks like. It is full of failures, but in the end, all you can say is, God, how I wish I could relive the whole thing. 6. Your learning should never stop. Bill Gates is a role model to almost every entrepreneur dreaming to make it big in their field. He says learning can come from any direction. You need to be smart enough to catch it. It could come from your competitors or your unhappy customers. For example, when Apple came up with the graphic user interface called Macintosh, Bill didn't try to crush the competition. He developed Windows to compete in a fair fight. In 1997, he even joined hands and invested $150 million in Apple for collaborative development of Java, because he never considered Apple a competitor. For him, technological development always came first, and he considered Apple as a fellow inventor from whom he could learn. Even today, when he is one of the richest people on the planet, he takes 2 weeks off every year just to brush up on his reading. He loves to learn new things, meet new people, and have new experiences, because he knows there is still room for improvement in the world. He actively shares book recommendations and reviews on his blog, Gates Notes, so young entrepreneurs can gain inspiration.